And hello, everyone, and happy Friday. Welcome to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I am your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen Frederick, medium/attorney, is here.
and slash husband of Coach Elix for 30 years.
Yes,
and
sir.
that's probably your most important role, Stephen. So I don't know why you don't mention that when we talk.
Scoozy?
So, anyways, how are you? What is going
Busy.
on? Yes,
busy.
I know you're busy.
I'm very busy.
So
Very,
tell us,
very
tell
busy.
us, tell us what you're up to.
Well, in life, a lot of things happen to you, right? And it just so happens that my universe is moving forward very quickly, and I'm very happy about it. So, a week from Sunday, July 30th, I will be in the Green Room 42 in NYC, New York City, for my first event in New York. So I'm like so excited about that because, that venue was just such a special venue with like amazing musicians and Broadway people. It's a really great place. So I'm really excited about that. So it's Sunday at 1 p.m. And on Fridays, I don't do readings, so I allocate Fridays to Whispers in a Note. And if you don't know what that is, just check out my website at stephenthemedium.com and you can see that. In a nutshell, instead of doing like a full 1 hour reading, you can purchase via my website what's called a Whisper in a Note, and you can request, you can send it as a gift, or you can just pick it, for yourself. And I don't ask for any names. I just ask for the relationship connected to you. So if you want a note from your dad, you actually put, it's a gift. It's for me, and I want it from my dad. And I meditate and have your dad step next to me, and he dictates to me exactly what he wants me to write in the note, and then I send it off to you. But how I send it is with this software, which is incredible, called Loom. So you not only see the...
I'm glad that you mentioned it because I was going to say, talk about that software.
Yeah, so you not only see the actual note right in front of you, so you also have in a little box or a circle me doing a recording and bringing you through every single sentence, word, the emotions of, using the example I'm using, of the woman's father, and when he was happy, when he was in tears, always good tears, but just showing all that sort of emotions, that spirit I can feel from them. It's really centered around the person that I'm sending the note. But you get a email, you open it up, and it says congratulations or hello, your Whisper in a Note is ready. Just click the link below and it's there. So you click the link and it brings you not only to Loom, but it opens it right up, and you see the note, and you actually the Whisper in a Note, and then you see me going through every single word. It's really cool. So with the show today, I have to do the notes, and then I have to record the notes before I send the notes. So Friday's sort of a busy day.
Yes, it is. And in about a week, we're heading to New York City. And are you excited about that?
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I'm so excited, Elix. When you and I go to New York, even if it's just for fun, I'm really excited. But now you combine the first time I've ever done an event in the Green Room 42, so it's pretty incredible. So if you're in New York, or you're in the surrounding area, or if you want to take a ride, like maybe my dear friend that sort of gave me a wink last night, Jillian, I call her the J girl, even though she doesn't know I do that.
She better be listening. I know Adam.
I love Jillian.
I love Adam. I think Adam is the bomb. He's so smart. He got the book, Judith Glaser's book, Conversational Intelligence. So he's on the A list on my book.
Wow, so Jillian's getting pushed out.
Well, she does all right. She, after all, she does put us in the only table with a candle at the restaurant that we go to every week. So she does.
Well, let me just tell you that girl has the biggest heart of anybody I know. She
No
really
question.
is just amazing, and I'm glad that we cross paths, our souls cross paths paths with her, and I hope maybe I'll even see her in New York, and maybe even see Adam. Who knows? But in any case, I'm just so blessed and so grateful that I get to do this. So yeah, that's really, really exciting.
And since we are giving shout outs, shout out to also Matthew, who better be listening. And I know Lou Lopes, well, I call him Lopez because I can't translate, something that I think it's either Portuguese or Spanish into the English version. But, to each his own. But Lou, I know it's listening also from Vermont. So shout out to Lou. Lou! And anyway, so I lost my train of thought. But anyways, so we're talking about the event in New York. You talked about what's going on with you. Anything else going on with you aside from? Yeah, go ahead.
Yes,
I got plenty I can add. Yeah, go ahead. Mm-hmm.
Something very, very big.
Okay.
My new T-shirt.
Oh God, yes.
I bought this. I sent away for this T-shirt, and I got it today, and I'm wearing it, and I'm so excited about it. I walked into Elix's office at the house before we start the show, and he's looking at it, and I said, what does it say? And he tells me, I'm like, do you know what it is? He has no clue. So I just actually texted Mark, our producer, and hopefully Mark is got his cell phone and he can take a look at what I just sent him, because I want to know if he is going to tell me what it is. So
I'm sure Mark will know because he's of that generation. I don't know anything about that. Plus, I came here.
Excuse me?
I came here from Puerto Rico. So that's not a show I watch. So move along, Betty. Actually, pun intended.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, that's not funny. So,
well, tell people about the freaking shirt. By the way, every time we get something in the mail with Steven's name, I always raise my eyebrows because I never know what he ordered, what it is, but it's always in sort of the same. So tell people what it is.
I disagree with that. I think it is just it's very creative stuff that I need. I need, it feeds my creativity, Elix. That's what this is all about.
Okay.
That and fish. So just saying, and bread. So, but the shirt is a beautiful blonde girl. Like, she's just beautiful. And underneath, and I know the listeners are going to know what I'm talking about, and underneath says Team Betty. So people will understand that. This, like I said to Elix, listen, you're either Team Betty or you're Team Veronica. It's either one or the other. You can't be both. You can't be a middle. You got to pick and choose one side. And I've always been Team Betty.
Gentlemen.
So now
I'm Team Betty White. So
Gentlemen.
I'm all, yes.
Yes.
Hello,
Yes.
Hello.
the voice from above. I imagine from what you're saying, it is in reference to the Archies.
Did you get my picture? I texted you.
No, it won't let me open it.
Oh. Maybe are you Team Veronica? Maybe Betty won't let you open it. But you're correct, Mark. You're correct. So yes, if anyone knows and remembers, you gotta know the Archies. Like growing up as a kid, the Archies were everywhere. So I have it's a really cool darker blue, and Betty with the blonde, and it says Team Betty. So if you see me today walking around in Massachusetts, you're gonna see Team Betty's T-shirt. Just saying.
Oh God, help us all. So, like I said before, I'm Team Betty, but Team Betty White. So I'm Team Betty.
Yeah. And again, I can use what you just said and say to you, move along, Betty. Right? So just keep going, Betty. Betty squared.
Anyways, but this is, honestly, if you're listening for the first time, this is what living with Steven is. It's exactly like this every day, all the time. It's, sometimes it's like, that saying, like opening like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. That's living with you. It's exactly like that. I never know what I'm gonna get.
Well, Not to mention your compliment.
it is a compliment. I mean, you are Gemini, so in reality, I never know what I'm gonna get, but in this context is, you just surprise me because you're so foolish. I just never know what I'm gonna get, but I
You
love
know,
it. After 30 years, I guess, I must be okay with that. So.
clearly, and if you ask, my best friend Paul J. Martin, he will disagree with you and say I'm not foolish. So
Yeah,
just saying.
because he's just as foolish as you are. So, anyways, but anything else, Stephen? Anything else about that you want to share with the audience about what's going on with you?
Sure. I was born in a little town called Providence. No, August 22nd, I am going to be at Sturbridge Village at the Public House. That's a Tuesday night. That's going to be a really great night because it's a dinner plus you get me doing readings. And if you've never been to the Public House in Sturbridge, it is now time for you to go because it is amazing. The food is amazing. The atmosphere is amazing. It is just the building is amazing.
Yeah, the whole thing is amazing. It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful town, and they are known for their Thanksgiving meal, which they offer throughout the year, throughout the whole year, and it is the most outstanding Thanksgiving meal I've ever had. So I don't care whether we go there for Thanksgiving, for Christmas, for summer. That's all I get. Their Thanksgiving dinner. So
And one last thing too. I know it's a couple of months away, but I am also just am booked at Water's Edge Theater in P-Town for the second year in a row. So October 28th, I'm going to be there at this movie theater, and it is so great. Last year, I got to pick the movie, and I did like an hour and a half of readings, and then that transitioned right into the movie, which I picked was Hocus Pocus. So this year I get to do the same thing again and do readings, and so that is really, really exciting. Last year was right on Halloween on Monday, but this is even better because it's the 28th. It's a Saturday, and it's that weekend, Halloween weekend, is just like incredible. It's jamming in P-Town, so.
yeah, and P Town, for those of you who are outside of Massachusetts, is at the very, very end, the tip of the Massachusetts coast. So if you've never been, that's something that you should absolutely put on your agenda. But let's see, Stephen. We do have to take a commercial break, and today we are talking about discipline and the role of discipline in life and success. And discipline is just, I think this is going to be a really wonderful conversation because it's something that I value a whole lot. And you and I had a conversation about, what discipline meant for you. So it's going to be an interesting conversation. If you know you're disciplined, if you know you're not disciplined, if you want to hear about how to develop discipline, you want to tune in to today's show. So when we come back, we're going to talk about the role of discipline in life and success, and how discipline is that practice of training people, mind to obey rules, code of behavior, which is aimed and improve lives, and achieve success. So we're going to take a small commercial break, and we'll be right back.
It's nice.
And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elex. I'm your host, Coach Elex. With me, my silly co-host,
Stephen the Medium.
Steven the Medium, who happens to be my amazing husband, and he is just silly. Like you're like silly, like Fusilli, like the Seinfeld episode. And
Yes.
today we are talking about discipline, the role of discipline in life and success. Now, it's a couple of things, Stephen, that gave me pause. First of all, is when this discipline can be defined, by some as the mind to obey rules. And I thought to myself, well, definitely it's not something that aligns with you because you do not obey rules. You actually do the opposite. However, I see discipline as a mix of willpower, persistent repetition, and it's really about having the conviction to do what you must do, whether you feel like it, want to do it, or not. And when I read that, then I can completely relate to discipline, and I know discipline is essential, for success and for living a life of fulfillment. When you think about discipline, Stephen, what first comes to mind, especially when I talk about obeying rules?
Well, clearly, speaking of Jillian, last night when we were having dinner, I don't know if you brought it up about what the subject of the show was going to be, and you said discipline, and my reaction was, well, I don't have anything to give the show. I have no discipline. And I love that you're doing this show, Elix, because maybe there's other people out there like me that just, you hear that word and just think, no, I'm the furthest from being disciplined. But then when you really start digging into it, that word really represents something significant. You and I talked about this morning that, I right out of law school, I was able to get on to the list and work 20 plus years as a contractor for the state of Massachusetts. And everybody, when I got on, was coming up to me, these attorneys I didn't even know. Who do you know? Like, you're too young to how did you get on this list? You got to practice for years. And, my discipline came in the way I set my application up, and I got on, and then started my probate business by myself, discipline. So I just think exactly what you just said, Elix. That discipline to me, when I think about it now, is just getting to the place you want to get to, however you get there.
Absolutely. And and I think about something you talk about all the time. You went to law school and you passed the bar for the first time. Nobody could have that kind of achievement without discipline. So you had the discipline to study and to commit to the study ritual that you had, and that's what provided you with the result, the outcome of passing the bar on your first take.
Yeah, Elix, which I think is really amazing too, and interesting is, of course, I agree with you, because every day I was going to the library, but it was, the discipline was coming sort of supported by two things. One, I did not want to take that bar exam again a second time. And I got to be honest, there was the second sort of prong of why I wanted to pass was me struggling with really not being good enough at that stage. And this was back in 2001, and just feeling like if I didn't pass the first time, then it would just give more in my head. This is all in my head. I would give ammunition to people. Well, see, he's not good enough. He couldn't pass it the first time. And it's amazing how, if you keep talking about discipline, it just keeps branching out, and this is really powerful.
Yeah, and so it was for you. It was guided by a goal. It was guided by a commitment, and again, that's really what discipline, what emerges when you have discipline.
But it was fear also, Elix. Not to
well,
interrupt you. It was not just that. It was fear also.
absolutely, no question about it. I mean, when you think about, oftentimes when we think about discipline, right, the first thing that comes to mind is the discipline that parents use with children, right? Like there's the boundary discipline, there's the behavior modification discipline, there's the positive discipline, the gentle discipline, emotion coaching discipline. Those are all kinds of discipline, but they're specifically related to parenting. And, oftentimes that fear discipline, Stephen, falls under that umbrella. Our parents, I can tell you, I can think of, one way my father specifically disciplined me was pulling out that belt. And I knew I was petrified because that belt meant, if I didn't do what I was told, if I didn't have the discipline, the respect to, be disciplined, I was gonna get it. So that makes perfect sense. You get what I'm saying, Stephen?
Yes. Yes.
So now the dictionary, of course, defines discipline in different ways. So one way is training that is expected to produce a specific character or pattern of behavior. You know, so for example, I would say you studying for the bar, it falls under that category because you train yourself to do specific things that would lead to that specific result. Then also, the dictionary defines discipline as controlled behavior resulting in from disciplinary training. Now, the first thing that comes to mind when I hear that is the military, right? The military is known for for being a place where you gain a certain level of discipline, right? And
Right.
and by the way, I have great friends and clients that, for example, um, they've been in the oh my goodness, in the Navy, the Navy SEALs, and they're very disciplined about everything that they do, and they often talk about that discipline. They learn that discipline because discipline is a learned behavior, comes from their military training. Also, a systematic method to obtain obedience. So I think of that to me is, parenting. You know, that's how I see that definition. A state of order based upon submission to rules and authority, again, military training, and discipline to train by instruction and control. So again, the discipline can be seen and can be defined in many different ways, depending also. I mean, there's discipline in the workplace. There's discipline in our personal lives, right? So depending on what it is that you want and what it is that you're looking for, you can find a definition that sort of meets that for you. Now, like I said before, discipline is a learned behavior. So people are not born more disciplined than others. So, I often make corrections in people, in my clients, that talk like I am more disciplined, but that means, I somehow I was born with that quality. Or the opposite can be true. I don't have discipline. I'm not good with discipline. And they refer to that. They make that statement, that I am statement, declaration, from the perspective of if I take them to a blood lab, their blood, results come positive for lacking disciplines. And that's not so. Discipline is a learned behavior. What do you think, Stephen?
Well, I mean, I agree with you, and it just, I also think on the other side of it, when you talk about like just even parents and kids, discipline is so different for each family, and some that may think hitting a child is just being disciplined, and some that may think, that's abuse or abusive.
Correct.
And it all, it all just that discipline. And I guess it all really, like you said, it's how you've learned what discipline is and what you believe, and sort of how you bring that, to the world.
Yes. And when we talk about life, when we talk about success, I will say the key to achieving your goals is discipline. You must be disciplined to achieve goals. And again, discipline is training that develops, that molds, that strengthens, that perfects, your mental faculty, your mental capacity, your character, and that leads to for us to achieve really high levels of success. I think also, Stephen, of athletes, right? When you think of athletes who get to compete at the highest level possible, say the Olympics, these are individuals who have very high levels of discipline. They've learned to be disciplined. They've learned to show up. They've learned to train. They've learned to do, to do whatever they need to do to achieve that goal that they want. So again, discipline is necessary. If you have important goals that you want to achieve and you're fully committed to those goals, you must have discipline. You must develop discipline. So it's about 1:30. We do need to take a commercial break, but when we come back, we're going to continue the conversation. I want to talk about the types of discipline and, again, why it's important and what we can do to develop it. We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Elix. I'm your host, Coach Elix, and with me, my amazing co-host,
Stephen Frederick is here.
Stephen the Medium, who also happens to be my amazing husband. Very silly silly fusilli Stephen. It's here, and and we are talking today about discipline and how discipline plays such an important role, a critical role that is, in life and success. And we talked a little bit about how discipline can be defined in so many ways. And there's different kinds of discipline. And there's, of course, the self discipline, and that discipline is something that we all get to practice. It's that willing, an instinctive sense of responsibility that leads us to get things done, even when we don't want to get things done. Um, and then the task discipline, things that we know we gotta get done, and so they're part of our to dos, and we have the discipline to get them done. For me, one of those things is I'm very disciplined as it relates to, working out, going to the gym. That for me is one of the most important tasks in my daily routine. The group discipline also describes teamwork. When you're working in a group setting, if you're part of a business and you're working with a team, there's a certain discipline that the team has to adhere to achieve, the results of really exceptional teamwork. And then there's that imposed discipline, and we talked about parenting, we talked about military, and and certain things that in business you gotta follow, or there's an imposed discipline for not following those rules. Stephen, when you think about these types of disciplines, what do you find yourself being better at some of these tasks than others, or what do you think it's your it's a discipline that comes easier for you than something else?
Well, again, I think it goes back to people's lives and what they've learned and what they've experienced. Because I think even the first time you told me that this show was going to be about discipline, I have the first reaction in my head was sort of like a negative connotation to that, because like even starting in grammar school, I remember like me being disciplined in school, like disciplinary action. In high school, it was like every day I had something, because I was always in trouble. So the disciplinary action was always around me, and I think it kind of like, until this conversation, I always pushed away from discipline. Like discipline means rules. It just means something that I don't do, I'm not good at, and I'm sort of the opposite of. But I think in reference to what you asked me, discipline also for me, now that we're talking about this, and I think we just brought it up a couple of minutes ago, is getting something done. So the other side of what I was just saying is, in my life, when I wanted something, nothing would stop me from getting that, regardless of how I get it. And legally, that is. That is, I would figure it out, or maybe sometimes not legally, I don't know. I would figure out things to make sure that I could get what I wanted. If it was a goal, if it was something that like a job, like getting on, the list for the state, I wanted that so badly to represent kids, and I figured it out. So I think the discipline sort of for me is, and maybe for a lot of people, comes through sort of like the back door. Like I don't start with discipline. And so I start with what I want to get accomplished, and then the discipline sort of just catches up and helps me to get to where I want to be.
Yeah. I can tell you, when it comes to self-discipline, I think you are probably one of those individuals who have very, very high levels of self-discipline. But I also think that it's guided by something, right? Because your self-discipline, and I'm talking about Stephen, but I'm talking to you also. Self-discipline comes, or it's always guided by something. Is it guided by a meaningful goal? Is it guided by purpose? Is it guided by a commitment that one has to oneself? What is that? What is it guided for? In your case, Stephen, what do you think that self-discipline is guided by?
Well, I think it's changed over the years. I think it was absolutely guided with what I just said a couple of minutes ago about passing the bar on the first time. It was absolutely fired up and supported by my insecurities, the stories in my head that I wasn't good enough. So my goals of, say, wanting to be an attorney was really, it came out of, well, if I achieve that goal, then I am good enough. I am smart enough, and that discipline always was not it wasn't really supported by, I don't think, that the greatest stuff, but it got me to become an attorney. But I think it's changed now, and now, thank God and thankfully, the discipline is more supported by a better understanding of who I am internally and what I want to get out of life, and an understanding of what I want to continue on getting rid of, like the toxicities and the sort of holding on to things and the anger and all of that stuff that stems from my dad and taking his life when I was 8 years old, and just immediately feeling like he did that because of me, and that was a big burden and weight for an 8-year-old boy to have, and that stayed with me through many years. So in next year when I turn 30, I'll be able to reflect back and see how things went. So
I have no comments about that, but keeping on point with the conversation about discipline, not you turning 30, that leads me to the thought: is there a downsides to discipline? Do you think that too much discipline could be bad, Stephen?
I do. I'm not sure I would use the word bad.
I agree with you, by the way, but tell me why.
Yeah, I'm not sure I would use the word bad, but I think too much discipline, just like anything else, if you're like on that discipline train and it starts getting obsessive, I think what it does, it puts blinders on you, on a person, and when that happens, you can't see anything else, like your working out. I think there's people that, and I've seen it absolutely with you, Elix, that there's times that your workout means so much to you, that you love doing it, which the team and the people and staying in shape and whatnot. But I also know that there's times that clearly you need to take a day off, whether it's you hurt yourself or whatever the case may be.
Because I can barely walk.
Yeah, and I have to really sort of step in and just really try to go at you and talk to you about, you can't do that right now. Like today, you need the break. So in that case, yeah, I think I don't think it's in yours. Clearly, your intention is not coming from a bad place. I think that some people, and I think if you have an addictive behavior, then the discipline can also go the wrong way. And in this conversation, I was just thinking of, my years of representing kids and representing parents, that I had to go into jails. I would love to know the definition, or someone's definition, that did something maybe criminally, like a beanie, like a breaking and entering, or a stabbing, or a shooting, and after that, how discipline fit into what happened in that experience. Where was their discipline there? It's just something that just popped into my head.
No, I agree. So if there's a listener that has an experience like that, it's an opportunity for you to get a hold of me so we can get you as a guest in the show. But I do agree with you. I think actually for me, I do believe that too much discipline could be bad. And I think it, I would ask myself this question, is there commitment behind those meaningful goals, or is there an obsession behind those meaningful goals? I think, Stephen, you and I watch gymnastics, right? Especially at the Olympic level. And how many of those gymnasts have talked about the how bad it was. The training, even they may have achieved gold at the Olympics, but in retrospect, it came with a very high cost because there was an obsession, not only behind their own behavior, but coaches behind, that were that all they wanted, all they saw is we got to do what we got to do to get you to win, right? So that discipline was coming from a misguided, um, you know, commitment, for lack of a better word. When you watch, and again, that video of you, I forget the name, Stephen, the young woman that was at the Olympics, and she fell and hurt her ankle, and everything was on her. If she did
Well,
the
Kerry
last
Strug.
Carrie Strug, right? If she completed that last, was it vault? I think it was.
Vault. Yeah, it was a vault.
Yeah.
Yep.
The team would win the gold. If she failed, they would not win the gold, right? They would. I think they
Right.
would win silver. Back then, I remember watching that, and everyone was rooting for her, right? We
Right.
all wanted her to win, 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 do it, do it, do it, and we celebrated that. But years later, you rewatch that, and then you know what we now know about what was going on behind that training, and that coach that was telling her, toughen up, get up. It doesn't matter how much pain you got to get it done, right? And it almost, you watch it back, and I grinched watching it back because I don't see it through the same lens. So I see that absolutely there can be a downside to discipline. If you are finding yourself obsessive to do something, then you may want to take some pause and really look to see what is causing that obsession. So yes, I think there may be times where there could be too much discipline.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I think in real time, as soon as she landed that, and everyone like screamed because they knew what she did was she handed the USA women's gymnastics team the gold. But
Yes.
within a second after she landed it, put her arms up, she fell, she collapsed to the floor, and the wind was taken out of everybody's sail. Like
Yeah.
it was a weird ending to. They did get the gold, and rightfully so. They were amazing, incredible. But it was, yeah,
But at a
it was
very
something.
high cost for her
Yeah.
back then, and probably at a much higher cost over the years.
Yes.
And I think that is one thing to take away for yourself around your own discipline. We do need to take another break, and when we come back, we'll talk about how to develop discipline. What are some of the things that you need to do to develop that self discipline? We'll be right back. And hello, everyone, and welcome back to Get a Grip with Coach Helix. I'm your host, Coach Helix, and with me, my amazing co host,
Stephen the Medium.
Steven the Medium, is in the house, and we're talking about discipline and how discipline plays an important role in life and success. And so the question is, Steven, how do we build self discipline? So there's a few things for me personally that I think are really important. At the top of that list is to really be crystal clear as to what are your meaningful goals. What are some of those areas that you want to that you've identified as growth areas? And a meaningful goal is something that has some significant meaning to you, not a goal that somebody, at least as it relates to self-discipline, not a goal that you need to do because somebody wants you to, but something that it's meaningful to you. I also would say you need to be crystal clear. Once you're crystal clear as to what the goal is, you need to then have very clear metrics. That is, what do I need to do? How am I going to do it? By when do I need to do it? What support do I need? And in in what and how I'm going to do it. Um, I would also say you got to visualize. Really take the time to visualize having met your goal. Set the environment. Really, take a look at what are the things in your environment that you may need to change. For example, if you are, want to develop self-discipline as it relates to getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, you want to make sure that you're not going to bed at midnight. What are some of the things that you may need to change so that getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning can be something that you could accomplish. What else, Stephen, as it relates to building self-discipline, you may invite people to take on from your perspective?
I think it's I sort of answer this way a lot when it comes to just things we're talking about because I think it's so important. But I think it really is to start with taking an inventory of your life and looking at those moments that may be defining moments, whether it's something that's traumatic or any other kind of like high emotional experience. And a lot of times I think that has to be looked at and almost like dissected and resolved. And with that said, then I think the discipline kind of changes with that change of mindset. And I know for me it did. When I look back, even 10 years ago, and still feeling and struggling with that, am I good enough? The discipline, as I mentioned already in the show, it sort of mirrored how I felt then. Now there's been big changes in, with going through therapy for many years and figuring out and finding out I'm a medium and talking to spirit and learning so much incredible stuff that now the discipline also mirrors where I am now, and it is in such a better place.
Yeah.
So I think just looking at your life and those stories that you're hanging on to and things that don't serve you, I think will help change the discipline.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do an exercise, Stephen, with my clients, especially with my business clients. But this is an exercise that anyone can do, and it's about defining your own personal vision. And it really starts with the question that I asked everyone: if you could invent yourself, meaning somebody gives you a magic wand and you get to invent who you are, what you do, what your future it's gonna look like, what your future, what you want your future to look like, not without the oh my god, but how am I gonna get there? Just simply, make a declaration just with that I am statement. I am this, whatever that is, but get grounded on what is meaningful to you. Get grounded on that legacy that you want to leave behind. I recently did this with one of my recent clients, and I did this in a team group setting, and everyone created a one sentence statement. and it was so powerful because I collected all of them and we created what we call the vision board for the team, and that became so grounding for them because it was a reminder. Every single person, made a declaration. I am committed to living my best life. I am a leader who is committed to serving others. I am an agent for change, and those are some examples of things that they use. I'm committed to building, my business, or generating this amount of revenue over, by the end of the year, whatever that was. But they used that as their foundation of who it is that they are. In that statement alone can then become what guides them to develop that discipline, to develop that self-discipline, to now say, this is what I'm committed to. So either I'm honoring my word as it relates to doing what I need to do to fulfill on that commitment, or I'm not. There's no in between, right? You either honor your words or you're not. So if you're saying I'm committed to expanding, myself to the next level, but then your actions are not consistent with that, then that's not discipline. You're not practicing discipline as it relates to honoring that. And one of the things in my world that is a must is practice honoring your word. That is, if there's one discipline that you want to practice, is honoring your word. Do what you say you're gonna do, simply because you said you're gonna do it. Nothing else. You don't need anything else. So honor that just because you said so, and that's all that you need. What are you hearing, Stephen, here?
Well, I remember you telling me before, I think you had your clients go through that practice, and I was in awe of it. I remember telling you that, wow, I think this is going to be amazing. And something I've learned from you and still learning from you is honoring commitments. And, it's always been very easy for me to just say something, I'm going to do something or be part of something, and then if I can't, well, I can't. I mean, no big deal. And what I've learned from that is that by doing that, you also bring that no big deal with you the rest of the day and the next day and the next week, and it is a big deal because things don't go the way you want them to go, and there's hopefully supposed to go. And when you do honor your word, everything completely changes. The feelings you've got, the energy around you. So that's a biggie.
Absolutely. By the way, there's a book. It's called The Four Agreements, and I've read this book. It's by Don Miguel Ruiz. I've read this book several times, and one of the four agreements is be impeccable with your word. And I'm telling you, the word impeccability really highlights discipline. Being impeccable means, being impeccable. You got to have the discipline to just be impeccable. There's no room for anything other than honoring your word. Be impeccable with your word. And I tell you, and again, I've read the book many times. I highly recommend it. So if you're listening, The Four Agreements is a book that will, could be life altering for any of you. For me, it's one of those things that I live by, that one agreement. So I hope this has been an awesome conversation for all of you. I think for me, it is always an awesome conversation when I get to talk about something that is meaningful to you. How was it for you, Stephen?
It was amazing. It was a great conversation.
So we are at the top of the hour. So why don't you remind people where they can get a hold of you?
Well, Stephen, the Medium, website, social media. But let me just say, fasten your seatbelt, baby, because it's going to be a bumpy ride next Friday when Through the Static returns. Every last Friday of the month, I take over Elix's spot. We switch. He becomes the co-host, and just get ready.
I absolutely love it. So again, last Friday of every month, we are switching, and Steven will take over for that Friday. He'll have his own shows through the static, and you get to call. He gets to read you, and it gets to be a lot of fun. So I'm inviting all of you to tune in next Friday for Steven's show through the static. And as always, Mark Clark, thank you for producing our show.
Thank you, Maki.
Jim Jones and the team at WARA, thank you for everything that you do to support us.
Thank you, Jim.
And for all of you, have an amazing weekend, and we'll see you all next Friday with Steven's show. And today, you want to stay tuned, because our producer is starting his show back in his new date and time slot, and it's Mark's Jukebox.
Jukebox. You don't want to miss it. His show, 2 hours, is incredible. It really is. You do not want to go anywhere. Just get your popcorn, sit down, and listen to Mark's show.
And we got to go, because right now
You're
will be
over.
saying his show, I'm taking time out of his show. So have a great weekend, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.